use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
Bill Brooks. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, thank you, Bill and Todd. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Thank you, Kent. And it's Kent's birthday. I'm going to make you blush yet. And thank you for doing a Ricky Byers song. By the way, if you do not know, Ricky Byers will be here in Albuquerque at the Centers for Spiritual Living. The date is on the poster in the hall. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's coming up. I think I'm going to be there. Just to let you know, before Ricky Byers performs on that day, a bunch of us ministers of New Thought churches here in Albuquerque will be meeting. And the reason we will be meeting, myself, Debbie O'Connor, the minister at the Unity West Side, and several of the other New Thought churches, is we are finally going to create the New Thought Ministry Alliance of Albuquerque. All of us, yes, yes. It's a time has come. All of us are going to be working together to grow new thought in whatever label we put on it, religious science, CSL, unity, whatever else. We're going to grow it here in Albuquerque. And eventually, our goal is throughout the state of New Mexico. So hold the power and the energy with us. The world needs what we have to offer. And one of the things we offer in unity is an understanding that it's not about religion, it's about spirit. We like to say that religion points to the path, but spirituality is the path. And thus we know that every one of the world's religions has value, has worth, and has nuggets of truth that we can all use and that we draw from in unity. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, early on in their exploration of spirituality, recognized that there was a golden thread of truth that runs through all of the world's religions that binds us together. They also recognized, and I have recognized this in my studies as well, that as religions come, new ones and new ones and new ones down through the ages, there's a progression, an evolution of growth. And each one feeds into the other. Each one is a foundation for the ones that came next. So that is why we have been doing this series on unity and the world religions. Not to see what our differences are, because our differences really are only in culture and forms of worship, but to discern what our similarities are, what we have in common. Because once we strip away all of the fluff on the surface, we are all teaching one thing, and that is love. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right, you guys are with it today. So let's take a look really briefly. I'm going to cover an almost 7,000-year-old religion in like 4 hours. No, 20 minutes. Let's take a look at the origins and the evolution of Hinduism. It is one of the oldest still practiced religions on the planet. It had its origins in the Iron Age in northern India and Nepal. It started coalescing as something we could call a religion around 1750 BCE, but nobody's really sure exactly when that happened. But early Hinduism was quite a bit different from modern Hinduism, just like all religions are different as they evolve. It was a synthesis of various tribal and village gods that were brought together. As empires rose and villages and peoples began to become united on the Indian subcontinent, when they would come to another village and the villagers would say, "This is our God," they would do something different than what Western religions do. In Western religions, we say, no, this is the only one true God. In the Indian subcontinent, they looked at it and said, oh, another representation of God. We have a representation we recognize. You have a representation that you recognize. Each has a little bit of a different energy, a little bit of a different quality, and they are all one. We in the West look at Hinduism and we think, well, it's a polytheistic religion. It is not. There is one God in Hinduism and many representations of that one God, many energies of that one God. Kind of like we have our 12 powers. It's all God. It's all one God. But it's different energies or representations. So as they began to move and evolve and grow, and writing became popular, I guess. It began to develop into codified religions, but codified religions that had room for other interpretations, other ways of seeing it. Gradually, 4 Vedas evolved. The first, Apurusaya, which means not of man. These were teachings and writings that were of the heart, that came to them in times of meditation and prayer. And then later on, it evolved into another book called That Which Is Heard. The Sanskrit. That which is heard. Teachings from great teachers and prophets that were written down. And then the Smriti. That which is remembered. Remembering our roots. Remembering our truth. All of which were credited to the Brahman, God. Simply their name for God. One of the great theological books, one of the great stories that has come out of Hinduism is the Mahabharata. And it's a collection of Sanskrit hymns, very similar to our Psalms, of ritual prayers, of offering directions on how to live life, like Leviticus and Deuteronomy in Judaism. The Shmaha Veda, melodies and chants, the Upanishads, separate stories collected into one. And the Upanishads contain many parables that are very similar to parables Jesus used in his teachings. Now think about it. Hinduism was thousands of years old probably by the time Jesus came around. And whether he traveled to India and studied as a young person, or whether just he was exposed to the Hindu traditions from living where he lived, where caravan routes came into the Roman Empire, he would have been exposed to some of these ideas. And being the intelligent, enlightened person that he was, he would have recognized teachings and stories that had value. With the rise of the Gupta Empire, the 6 branches of Hinduism evolved. The first, Shmakya, which taught steps to knowing, perception, inference, and word. It gave rise to one of the earliest ideas of dualism of reality. And the dualism wasn't good and bad or dark and light. The dualism that they looked at was consciousness and idea. And then they added manifestation to it. How would we say that in unity? Mind, idea, expression. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's all Trinity. It's all a whole one thing. The yogic path evolved. Belief in a personal God, of a holistic discipline as a path to nirvana or enlightenment. The Nyaya movement, which was concerned with the development of epistemology, justified belief and opinion. It's kind of what we would call Hindu metaphysics. And then the Vaisheshika, the school of Gautama, the Buddha. And the Mimamsa with its emphasis on ritual and worship. When we look at this, we can see Christianity, Judaism, Islam all have evolved along similar paths, beginning a growing understanding of the nature of spirit, a recognition that God speaks to us through our hearts. We interpret through our minds. Writing down of ways of living, rules that work to build community, and how to worship. Gradually, Hinduism would give birth to other religions, Jainism and Buddhism. They would influence and be influenced by Judaism, Christianity, Islam, as caravan and trade routes went back and forth. And it would eventually feed into Unitarianism, Theosophy, and New Thought. So we have this rich, ancient understanding of spirit that has fed into modern belief. But yet we still look at it with our Western eyes, and we look at all the various gods and goddesses and demigods, and we say, oh my gosh, it's so confusing. How can they worship more than one God? And as I said, they do not. Any educated Hindu knows that whatever God they are bringing into expression in that moment is but a representation of an energy of God. And the beauty of that is, whatever they need in their life at that moment, there's a representation of it that they can focus on, much like we do with our 12 powers. So let's take a look at the three main Hindu deities. Notice three, Trinity. The first is Vishnu. Vishnu is eternal, omniscient, the holder of all knowledge. In unity, we would say God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. And the same is true of Vishnu. Now, Vishnu appears to the Hindus in different forms. First is Rama. Rama is considered the founder of Hinduism, just like Abraham is considered the founder of Judaism. And Rama is the Lord of virtue, all that is good, all that is pure, all that is true. In the Hindu stories, Rama is married to Sita Ram, Sita who manifests as Lakshmi, the energy of Vishnu. And thus we have a representation of an Adam and an Eve, intellect and feeling, motive energy. Neither one is stronger or more important than the other, and neither one can exist without the other. Then we have Shiva, one of the 5 manifestations of God. And Shiva means Lord of the 3 realms, mind, idea, and expression. Shiva represents God in all of creation, every single thing, formless, limitless, and unchanging. And Shiva is scary sometimes to us in the West because Shiva is also the destroyer. In one hand, Shiva holds a musical instrument, in the other, it holds a weapon, a sword, and often is depicted in rather gruesome ways. But that's to remind Hindus of the power of elimination. You begin to see the tie-ins between us. We use the power of elimination to eliminate from our experience, from our consciousness, from our vision of the world, all that no longer serves us, that gets in our way. It has to be eliminated so greater good can come forth. Shiva is married to Parvati, the divine mother, the protector of all life. Christianity would say the Virgin Mary, the divine mother. And she is also the mother of Ganesha and Kartikeya. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. And finally, there is Devi, which is the power of the underlying female energy. It manifests as Parvati, Kali, the divine destroyer, and Durga, the balancer, the peacemaker, that brings order and dominion over emotion. We could say that these are almost related to our patron saints in traditional Christianity. And then there's the lesser gods and goddesses. Ganesha, Ganapati, remover of obstacles. Sarasvati, the goddess of arts and knowledge. Lakshmi, prosperity. Hanuman. Hanuman is the 11th incarnation of Shiva, a devotee of Rama, and who, in their stories, led the revolt against the demon king Ravana from a book very similar to our book of Revelation. And last, and certainly not least, is Lord Krishna, the hero of the Bhagavad Gita, who represents the complete incarnation of Vishnu. Who would that be in Christianity? Jesus, that would be the Christ. And interestingly enough, Lord Krishna is the only one whose birthday is celebrated. Lord Krishna is often depicted as an infant. And there are stories that are told of him as a young man when he was traveling around India teaching in villages, teaching the masses, and including in his teachings women and children, beloved of both. It is told that when he went into a village, he healed the sick and he fed the hungry and he taught. And interestingly enough, up until the Middle Ages, he was considered a prophet or a teacher. He did not become considered God incarnate until almost the 12th century. He was told when he was born, and his mother was told, that he would die at age 36 and that he would rise up again. And at age 36, he gave up his body and went into the wilderness for 40 years and ascended. And he reappears from time to time to help those in need, to advise those. One of the greatest stories of his reappearance is when he advised Arjuna, the charioteer, and he sits at the right hand of Vishnu. Does any of this sound familiar? This was thousands of years before Christianity, before Jesus. Vishnu is recognized in the Buddhist tradition, in Baha'i and Sikhism, in Ahmadiyya Islam, where he is called a prophet along with Jesus and Muhammad. So you can see where we draw from the richness of the world's religions. But how does that impact unity itself? What is it that we draw from it beyond the stories and the metaphysical interpretations? We draw ideas such as yoga, vegetarianism, meditation. All came from Hindu. One of the first people to try to recognize this beauty of tradition, of belief in the West was Ralph Waldo Emerson. And in his speech to Harvard University, this is what he said: "In all nations there are minds which incline to dwell in the conception of the fundamental unity. This tendency finds its highest expression in the religious writings of the East, and chiefly in the Indian scriptures, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Vishnu Purana. I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was the first of books. It was as if an empire spoke to me, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old, ancient intelligence, which in another age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercised me." He talked of a divine presence that permeates the whole of creation and all living things. Behind the appearances in the universe, there is a reality of being and consciousness which is one and eternal. This one reality is the self of all things. God can best be found by looking inward, into the core of one's soul, into the core of one's being, and by living according to the dictates of an inner will, we can transcend the materialist world of sense perception, the world of cause and effect. Emerson brought this to the West and shared it. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore brought it into unity. They also brought in ideas from Henry David Thoreau, Phineas Quimby, Mary Baker Eddy, all of whom were influenced by the world's religions and by Hinduism. All of whom believed a basic philosophy that says spirit is the totality of real things, and true human selfhood is divine rather than sinful. We are born in original blessing rather than original sin. That thought, divine thought, is a force for good. That sickness originates in mind and positive thinking has a healing energy. All of that came from Eastern religions originating with Hinduism and is finding its way even now into more traditional Christianity. New thought is beginning to influence more and more people and more paths. It's not really new thought. It's ancient thought, just being brought anew into the world. I mentioned all of the symbols of God that are found in Hinduism. Symbols like Lord Krishna descending from the heavens in a flaming chariot. But there is one symbol in Hinduism that depicts the union of all energies, of all beings, of all creation into one thing. And that is that which we call Om. In Sanskrit, it looks like that symbol on that banner right there. It almost looks like a 3 with a little 0 after it, or a tail. But that is the Sanskrit word. But it's not really Om. Some of you have heard me say this before. In the West, we make it Om. But the real sound, the real word, is a vibration, and it's Om. Listen to the difference between the two. Om. take a deep enough breath. And this way. You hear the difference in the vibration? Astrophysicists have discovered that there is a vibration to creation itself, to the universe itself, and it's the same frequency. We're beginning to recognize more and more what all of the world's ancient religions have taught us, that there is only one presence and one power in the universe, God the good. That's one of our core affirmations in unity. The opening line of the Ishu Upanishad is this, Ishavashyam idam sarvam, which translates to, guess what? There is only one presence and one power in the universe, God the good. It comes from some of the oldest writings known to humanity. Of course, one of the core practices in Hinduism is one of our core practices, meditation. To a Hindu and a Buddhist and a unity person, meditation is the key. It is how we connect to our true spiritual self. Much of Hindu philosophy is focused on unity, oneness, body, mind, spirit, the oneness of God and creation. Charles Fillmore, in his book, Atom Smashing Power of the Mind, wrote this about meditation. By meditation, by inward resolution, we identify ourselves with the spiritual being, and thus form in both mind and body that which we truly are, the light of God expressing. Vera Dawson Tate, Unity author, wrote this, meditation is the bridge that moves us to that place where we are no longer satisfied to just think about God. We desire to be one as God. So the many faces in Hinduism of God are the qualities or energies of the one God. Charles and Myrtle drew from this and incorporated it into our spiritual practice. They also recognized that this is what Jesus did. You know, we are told that Jesus often went apart to pray and meditate, to recharge, to reconnect, to remember his oneness with God, and he taught all of us to do the same. So I would like to close this very brief overview of Hinduism with a traditional Hindu prayer or two. And you may notice some similarities to a traditional Christian prayer. The Hindu prayer, what they call the general prayer, goes like this. O adorable love of mercy. O adorable Lord of mercy and love. Salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchinanda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, greed, hatred, anger, and jealousy, and fill our hearts with divine virtue. Let us behold you in all of these names and forms. Let us serve you in all of these names and forms. Let us forever remember you. Let us forever sing your glories. Let your name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in you forever and ever. Sound familiar? Yeah. And now to close with one in Sanskrit, and then I'll say it in English. I invite you to close your eyes. Take a breath. Feel the energy of the words. You don't have to know what they mean. Feel that energy as it vibrates through your being. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Makashi Dukkha Bhagabavat. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. May all be prosperous and happy. May all be free from illness. May all see what is spiritually uplifting. May no one suffer. Om peace, Om peace, Om peace. Amen and namaste.
Bill has a song by the late George Harrison, who, of course, brought awareness of Hinduism and Eastern religions and Eastern music to the West.
Give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth, give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. Give me love, give me you with heart and soul. Oh, my Lord.
Thank you, Bill. I see our kids out there.